beautiful day. I think it's one of those days where there's a little bit of a nip in the air, but the sun's out and the sky's blue and it's just amazing. And when I was driving here, I was noticing lots of different cloud shapes, and there was a particular cloud shape of a grasshopper which really caught my attention. So I'm going to Google the resonance of a grasshopper when I have a sec. And I don't know about you, but spirits speak to us in so many different ways, and sometimes when we're struggling with something, we're asking for that support from spirit. We keep asking and we keep asking and we keep asking, and we think they haven't responded, and they do respond, but they respond in all sorts of different ways depending upon who we are, what our energy's like, and what we notice. So I've always noticed things like cloud formations, and I always take note of something specific that I notice. And for me, that's that spirit guiding me to an answer or an understanding or something that I've been seeking. And it isn't so much that, you know, they change the cloud shape into something that's recognizable. It isn't that. I mean, the clouds just move and form and reshape and change, and they do that naturally. But it's that sense that at the moment that the cloud is in a shape of something that I will understand or something that I will take notice of, spirit guide my attention to look up at that moment in time and notice it. And it's the same with flowers, it's the same with all sorts of things. You know, if you're wandering about on a walk with your dog or just in nature and you suddenly notice a flower, you know, particularly you're drawn to it, it isn't that flower has suddenly just bloomed because you're walking past it. It's because your attention has been grabbed by it. So spirit have drawn you to notice that particular flower, and that particular flower has a resonance. So if we are open to, or if we can be open to, the subtle ways that things grab our attention, the subtle ways that we're noticed, that we notice things, that we're drawn to notice things, and if we have confidence that that is actually part of spirit supporting us and helping us, then we can have confidence in that sense of that supportive spirit around us, and that every thought that we send up, every question that we ask, in some way, shape or form, the answer does actually come back to us. We just have to be open to the how. You'll know if you've followed a couple of my other vlogs that I'm having some branding work done at the moment, and as I've been chatting about the kind of imagery and the things that I'm drawn to, it's really clear that nature plays an important part in how I view life, because there's that process of change, isn't there, that is natural, that is cyclic, that enables new things to come into being as old things slip away. And one of the images that's kept coming back to me, and if you follow my page, you'll know that one of the images that I share fairly regularly is that of a dandelion. And I hadn't realised necessarily the significance of that, but as I've been thinking about it, I very much identify with a dandelion. And I know technically they're classed as weeds, but then, like everything, that's perception, isn't it? Because when it's in that full resonance of its yellow, I kind of like the colour. But then when it goes to seed, it's really interesting because it's incredibly beautiful, and it's wonderfully symmetrical. It's also incredibly fragile, and it's that puff of wind, that just that moment of breeze that passes by, and lots of its little aspects just whiffed away and waft away in the wind, and it's left incomplete. And it's really interesting because we as individuals and as humans, we go through that continuous process of evolution, which is actually a continuous process of change, but it's change happening so that we can evolve and so that we can transform. And there's always an aspect of us in our most divine sense that's totally and absolutely complete, but there's also always the moment within our humanity and within that process of evolution and transformation that's always incomplete. And in order to enable and allow the new aspects of ourselves to start to come into being, we have to release and let go of aspects of ourselves that we identify with that are no longer right for us. So that aspect of the seeded dandelion being kind of blown and allowing aspects of itself to move and to leave, so that it can come back to that central aspect of its power and allow that new cycle of birth to come into being, is something that I really resonate with, both within ourselves and within the work that I do with spirit. Because as we develop and as we grow and as we evolve within the work that we do with spirit, we have to allow change to come into the way that we work. We have to allow change to come into the way that we believe and the way that we think about spirit and about ourselves. So it's just really interesting. I hadn't really thought of that aspect of a dandelion before, but it's something that really consciously registers with me. And that aspect of transformation, that aspect of always being vulnerable within that seeded process, but nevertheless being strong within it, is something that we all come across and that we all face within life, within the challenges, within the opportunities, and within that circle and that cycle of life that we go through. I'm so excited. So I'm just starting to read this book by Marie Forleo, saying everything is figureoutable. And the quote just before the content page is, "The power isn't out there, it's within you." There's something else that just occurs to me, and it's a quote in the book by Khalil Gibran, which is, "The obvious is that which is never seen until someone expresses it simply." But it's made me think about that fact. I've had experiences in my life which I cannot logically explain, and I'll share those maybe in the next vlog. And it's one thing for somebody to impart their sense, their experience, their understanding, and share that with you, to seed a moment of encouragement, a moment of opportunity, a moment of understanding. But it is entirely different to have a belief embedded within you because of your experience and how you deal with your experience, particularly the experiences that you have that are not logical, they're not rational. So those connections you have with spirit, those connections you have with the divine, for some of you, the connections that you might have angelically that you absolutely know to be true, but you cannot, if someone asked you to explain them logically or rationally or scientifically, you couldn't do that, because they simply are not something that can be explained that way. They're simply something that's known through your soul. Those experiences are the experiences that you have, particularly because they are there to start forming the foundation of a belief which you will start to grow into and to bring into being in some way.